Today, we meet a man whose name echoes through the corridors of Indian history, yet remains almost forgotten in the shadows of the freedom struggle. A man whose courage was as formidable as his mind. Sir Chatur Sankaran Nair, a man who stood against oppression for justice and for the nation when the cost was unimaginable. Thank you for joining us today, Sir Nair. Your legacy in India's legal, social, and political history is profound. Let's begin at the very beginning. What shaped the man you became?
I was born on July 11, 1857, in Mankara, Kerala. A quiet village, but from my first breath, I was bound to a world bigger than my own. My family, the Chetur family, had privilege, yes, but that privilege was steeped in duty. My father, Ramuni Panikar, was a Tahsildar in the Madras government, and my mother, Chetur Parvati Amma, came from a family steeped in Nair traditions. I grew up between the worlds of duty and privilege, but both taught me one thing: responsibility. My earliest lessons were in Sanskrit, at home. Then I moved to the provincial school in Calicut, but it was in Madras, at Presidency College, where I first came into contact with the ideas that would shape my future: liberty, justice, and reform.
That's where your transformation began, I assume. You weren't just another law student. You went on to challenge the very norms of your time, from entering the Madras High Court in 1880 to becoming the first Indian Advocate General of Madras in 1907. Your career soared. You also founded and edited influential legal journals, like the Madras Review and the Madras Law Journal, shaping the intellectual fabric of the legal community. You even helped in drafting the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, the first step towards the nation's self-governance. Could you share more about this journey and what motivated you through these milestones?
I entered the court not just to practice law. I entered it to challenge what was unjust. Law is not just a set of rules, it is a reflection of the moral compass of a society. In 1884, I was appointed to investigate the Malabar district, a place where oppression and injustice were everyday realities. From there, I began to understand the true weight of the law and how it could be wielded for justice. In one landmark ruling, I declared that converts to Hinduism were not outcasts. I stood by inclusion when society insisted on exclusion.
You didn't just serve the law, you served the nation through the Indian National Congress.
The Indian National Congress gave me the platform to push for reform. In 1897, I was the youngest Malayali to be elected as president of the Congress. I didn't believe in radical revolution, but I believed in gradual reform, and when needed, I spoke out, not just against British tyranny, but against social injustices within our own society, like child marriage and caste discrimination.
And yet, you worked with the British administration?
I believed in dialogue. We cannot change what we do not understand. In 1902, I became the secretary to the Raleigh University Commission. I was knighted. I even served in the Viceroy's Council. But when the British failed to listen, I did not remain silent. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre, that was my breaking point.
Jallianwala Bagh, one of the darkest chapters in our history. You were the only Indian in the Viceroy's Executive Council at that time. You were the education minister. Yet, you did what few would: resigned in protest. You wrote a letter that shook the empire. If to govern a country, it is necessary that innocent persons should be slaughtered, and that any civilian officer may at any time call in the military, and the two together may butcher the people, as at Jallianwala Bagh, the country is not worth living in. Your principled resignation stunned the British establishment and contributed to the eventual revocation of martial law in Punjab. But you didn't stop there. You wrote Gandhi and Anarchy and took O'Dwyer to court.
What happened in Amritsar was not just a massacre, it was sanctioned murder. I was horrified. I resigned. I could not, in good conscience, serve a government that would slaughter its own people. My resignation letter sent shockwaves through the British establishment. They tried to suppress the truth. But they couldn't. The world knew. Yes. In 1922, I published my views. I criticized Gandhi's methods, yes, but I also held Sir Michael O'Dwyer responsible for the massacre. He sued me for libel. The trial took place in London. I lost and was ordered to pay heavy damages, but I refused to apologize. The truth had been spoken, and the world had heard it. Sometimes, that is all one can ask for.
You continued to serve, albeit more quietly, after that.
Between 1920 and 1921, I served on the Council to the Secretary of State for India in London. From 1925, I was a member of the Indian Council of State. I also chaired the All India Committee that met the Simon Commission. I always believed in slow, steady progress, but I never forgot my duty to speak up when silence meant complicity.
Looking back, what do you believe is your legacy?
I was neither a revolutionary nor a saint, but I stood for law, for reason, and for reform. I stood for women's rights, for the education of the underprivileged, for justice and inclusion. History may forget my name, but I hope it remembers what I stood for. Dissent is not disloyalty, it is the highest form of patriotism.
Sir Sankaran Nair passed away on April 24, 1934, in Madras, a fearless reformer, a tireless advocate for justice, a voice that refused to be silenced. His life remains a beacon for those who dare to speak truth to power.